On October 7th, there was a serious situation between Hamas, a group in Gaza, and Israel. Hamas fighters attacked Israel, causing the death of 1,200 people and taking 240 hostages. In response, Israel launched airstrikes and a ground offensive in Gaza, resulting in over 14,800 deaths, as reported by the Hamas-run government. After a 7-day truce, the fighting resumed. During the truce, Hamas released over 100 hostages in exchange for 240 Palestinians held in Israeli jails. Israel continued its military actions, using warplanes for airstrikes in Gaza and sending troops into the northern part of the territory. The situation remains tense and ongoing. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that Israel's main goal is to weaken and eliminate both the military and governing abilities of Hamas, the group in Gaza. They also aim to free the hostages held by Hamas. Israel intends to take on overall security responsibilities in the Gaza Strip for an unspecified period after the conflict, although they have mentioned they don't plan to permanently reoccupy the territory. To achieve their goals, Israel has called up 300,000 reservists to support their regular military force of 160,000. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, have targeted thousands of locations belonging to Hamas, which is considered a terrorist organization by Israel, the UK, the US, and other Western powers. The IDF claims to have destroyed hundreds of tunnel entrances beneath Gaza. Hamas asserts that its tunnel system extends for 500 kilometers, 310 miles. According to Israel, they have dealt significant blows to Hamas during the conflict, including the killing of thousands of fighters, including many commanders. However, the toll on the Israeli side has been heavy, with over 390 soldiers killed, most of them in the October 7th attack. Recently, Houthi rebels from Yemen launched missiles at Israel, including the city of Eilat, raising tensions in the region. This came after previous drone attacks on Israeli targets. The Houthi leader, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, has promised more such assaults. These actions are connected to increased conflict since a Hamas attack in Gaza, leading to Israeli airstrikes and a ground invasion. The situation has led to clashes between Hezbollah and Israeli forces, along with attacks on US forces by Iran-backed groups in Syria and Iraq. The missile attack followed a drone operation targeting Israeli sites just a day before, as confirmed by the group's military spokesperson. This event has created uncertainty and tension in the Middle East. Israel responded quickly and effectively, intercepting a missile near the Red Sea using its advanced Arrow aerial defense system. While the missile didn't reach Israeli territory, the reasons behind this attack remain unclear, leaving the international community wondering about the motives and the forces involved. After the initial attack by Hamas, the situation in the region has become very serious. In response, Israel carried out strong airstrikes on Gaza and sent troops in, causing significant harm to the people there. Palestinian authorities report a tragic toll, with over 1,100 people dead, including more than 4,600 children. This conflict has created tension across the region, and the international community, along with organizations and leaders, is expressing concern about the risk of a larger war. Hezbollah, a group supported by Iran in Lebanon, has joined the conflict, fighting with Israeli forces along the Lebanon-Israel border. At the same time, armed groups with Iranian backing targeted US forces in Syria and Iraq. The United States responded with counterattacks, adding another layer to the complex geopolitical situation. In the Arabian Peninsula, Houthi rebels supported by Iran have become a significant force. Meanwhile, Hamas released over 100 of the 240 people it kidnapped from Israel on October 7th. This happened during a week-long ceasefire, mostly involving women and children, including some from other countries. Israel says more than 30 hostages were children, at least 10 were over 60, and about half held foreign passports from 25 different countries. At the same time, many Arab residents from the West Bank who were held in Israeli prisons have been released. This has resulted in two groups of people, including lots of children, who now need help adjusting to life outside of captivity. In Israel, as the released hostages go back home, There are lots of pictures and videos in the news showing their emotional reunions with family and friends, including some with their pets. Details are also coming out about their experiences during the almost 2 months they spent in captivity. Many hostages haven't talked to the media themselves, but their families share that some had basic access to necessities like food, beds, bathrooms, and medications. Unfortunately, an 84-year-old woman returned in critical condition over the weekend. Family members of various hostages, regardless of age, say that physically, they're okay, but mentally, it's a different story. Many are experiencing a mix of relief, guilt, and exhaustion. Concerns are being raised by both relatives and experts about the possible lasting impact on the hostages, especially the young children. For instance, there's a 4-year-old named Abigail Iden, who is both American and Israeli. Her parents were among the 1,200 people killed on October 7th. The situation has left her family, like many others, grappling with the emotional toll of the ordeal. In Gaza, more than 36,000 people have been injured since the war began, with 3/4 of them being children and women, according to the Hamas-run government. Unfortunately, only a few hospitals are still working because they've been damaged in attacks, and there's a shortage of electricity and fuel. Prime Minister Netanyahu has acknowledged that Israel has not been successful in avoiding harm to civilians. He argues that this is because Hamas uses the people in Gaza as human shields, making it challenging to minimize civilian casualties. According to UNRWA, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, 1.8 million people in Gaza have been forced to leave their homes due to the conflict. About 1.1 million of them are staying in shelters provided by UNRWA. Many of these displaced individuals, including hundreds of thousands from the northern part of Gaza, have sought refuge in the southern areas. Israel's military has released a map indicating specific zones in southern Gaza that are designated to assist people in Gaza in escaping future fighting. The aim is to provide safer areas for those affected by the conflict to seek shelter. After the October 7th attack, Israel closed its border crossings with Gaza, stopping the usual flow of food, water, fuel, and medicine into the area. Israel argued that it blocked fuel deliveries until late November to prevent Hamas from using it for military purposes. Because of this, hospitals, water facilities, waste services, and bakeries in Gaza couldn't function due to the lack of electricity and fuel. The heads of major UN agencies called this cutoff of essential supplies to 2.2 million Palestinians an outrage and have consistently called for a permanent ceasefire based on humanitarian reasons. Between October 21 and November 21, Israel permitted only 1,399 truckloads of humanitarian supplies to enter Gaza through Egypt's Rafah border crossing. This is significantly less than the usual monthly average of 10,000 before the war, as reported by the UN. During the ceasefire, there was some improvement, with hundreds of trucks carrying aid and fuel allowed through Rafah, which is the only passage in and out of Gaza. A number of foreign passport holders, including some from Britain and the United States, as well as seriously injured and ill Palestinians, were allowed to leave Gaza during the truce. However, many still remain, and the Rafah crossing continues to be tightly controlled by Egypt. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos related to Israel and Hamas war.